Hi, good people. Hope this finds you well. Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Connect. There was a conflict there. I wanted to introduce myself. But welcome to Tuesday Connect. We're glad you are tuned in. My name is Pastor Sammy Thiga, and with me is
Kathy Matei, and I'm glad to be here.
yes, and on this other side,
Ramson Chebosi. I'm also glad to be here.
Now, today we have a very interesting topic. We were talking earlier, and this whole subject about can men and women be best friends even though they're not in a relationship, came up. And we were like, hey, topic for Tuesday Connect. So let me find out for you guys. Kathy, what do you think?
Yes.
They can be.
I mean, that's how people get married. You become friends, you become best friends, then you get married.
Hold on to that thought.
I find it interesting that first and foremost here are guys who just served in the teens ministry of Mamlaka. So whatever opinions are shared today, I think we'll be reaching a lot to there. But yes, to a certain extent, I'd say yes, and to a certain extent, I'd say no. So that's where I'd say. That's where I stand.
So, Ebu, let's go back to this. The question is, can guys and ladies become best friends, but they're not in a relationship, like in a love, romantic, committed relationship, but they still call each other the best friends? I mean, are you thinking about this before marriage as opposed to after marriage? I mean, you said yes. What are you thinking? Is it only possible, before marriage? Is that what you're thinking?
I mean, I think that it's possible both ways. I think
before marriage and after marriage?
and after marriage, I think that it is possible to have really good friends. As to whether it is wise or something different, but it is possible for you to have a person who is maybe even your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and to have someone else whom you look, Sam. Before you look at me badly,
Is it that obvious?
we keep telling people here, right, Ramson? We keep telling people here that you before you become exclusive, that you need to socialize, right? And I mean, God made us uniquely different, the two genders. And so me being a friend to a guy is not necessarily a bad thing, because the guy has something or some view of life or some different way of thinking that I may not find in a certain friend who maybe is a girl. And so my premise is this, and I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here. So we keep telling people, right, right from the time when they're going to school, we keep telling them, have you made friends? You need to make friends. You need to socialize. You need to go out there, get to know people, get to know where they're at. And so some, I make friends, right? And then some become closer than others, and that's okay. So where do I take them? Those friends that I've made, that I've put time and emotion and money into feeding these relationships that I have. So eventually, when I do get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, if it's a guy, where do I take all these other people that I've been investing my life into and that have been investing their lives into mine?
I mean, look, of course, what we are not saying is that we shouldn't have friends of the opposite gender. I mean, we are cool with that. But this whole idea of, now, no, this one, I'm not dating this one, but they are my best friends. And I'm glad you said you're playing devil's advocate, because the devil is a liar. Devil is a liar. That's very fitting. Because I feel like, okay, they're best friends. Okay, then you're dating that person.
Let me tell you how the devil is a liar. Such friendships is where now when two people are dating, the controversy starts becoming, now, what are we if the things I do with you as a friend are the same things you do with so and so as a friend? They are your best friend. I'm your best friend. So, and then now the relationship becomes, we need to find something else so as to make our relationship a bit more spicy or look like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. So I'd say maybe, that's one of the ways maybe the devil is a liar, when we say, oh, you can just be best friends with somebody and yet you also have a boyfriend or a girlfriend on the other side. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I was just thinking about it. Like, I don't know whether it only applies to me, but I feel like it is healthy. Like, there's a jealousy that is healthy, right? I mean, we know that in the Bible, God himself would say, do not have any other gods before me, because the Lord your God, I'm a jealous God. There's like a jealousy that is, it's cool. You know, you should have. So I'm trying to imagine that now, you know, my girlfriend, my wife, that maybe if we were dating, and she has another guy who is, wait, I'm going to meet my best friend.
I think the problem
I'm not going to
here.
tolerate that for a very long time, and that will be healthy for a relationship.
I think the
right?
problem here, Samsi,
Yeah.
is that you're calling it best friend. So if we remove that best, right? Because here's the thing. Are we then saying that if once I get into a relationship or once I get married, then the truth is that the person that I'm in the relationship with should ideally be closest, right?
Yeah.
I think we can both agree,
Yeah.
whether it's a female or a male. But it doesn't negate the fact that you need other people around you. Say, for example, I'm dating someone and this person is just hard-headed. You know, this person has refused. What am I going to do? I mean, if that's the only friend I have, if that's the only close friend, okay. If that's my best friend, let me use that. But some you can have a lot
So you
of
leave
best
the
friends.
shady guy who's giving you a headache. Why do you have to
And
get
go,
another one?
and go date the guy whom you
meets
want
you,
to
who
go.
gets you.
Yeah, who gets you.
So you guys are basically saying that if a person is close enough to be your best friend, then you should be dating them.
Date the guy. Just date the guy.
But
date
what
the
if
girl.
they're not your type?
Aye.
You'll find Type C charger. You'll find a connector. Do you see how these connectors you have a Type C charger here and you have another charger, and then you have a connector
A
that
thing.
converts it from this to this. Yeah, you'll find that for your relationship later.
Yeah. This thing called type, maybe we should do another Tuesday Connect. We just
Talk about
discussed that thing
types.
called type, you know, in and of itself. But for now, let us limit this conversation. I think there's that, and you've raised it up. You know, of course, we are not saying that you cannot have friends of the opposite gender. I think it's important for us to make that clear. You can have, but how close should they be? I guess it's the thing that we're talking about. If they're close enough to that point where you're calling them a best friend, you know, you are constantly chatting and you're talking to each other and you're advising and you're opening up and so on, you are in a relationship. With that person, that is...
I think,
You know?
I think it's also usually the thing then, if you were to say you have a dating relationship and you're dating somebody, you're asking yourself, what's the difference between this relationship that I have with this person and this other person? And if they are on the same level, you know, we are, you know, I finish, you know, I send one message to this other, and then the next one, it's like it's from this other, I need to respond. Basically you are making them compete, and in your heart, something will win. Something will give way. And so you don't want to even bring that. You are, in a way, bringing confusion and fog in your heart without knowing it. In the future, when now things become messed up and then you're like, I'm attracted to this guy, but I'm with this other guy. And so I think it's just something, after all, when guys are even dating and they're told, you know, if their relationship is, you know, is not doing well, the basic things that you'll be doing with this best friend, you need to watch out. If they are the same things that you will be told on how to revive your relationship, then most likely you are doing another relationship. So I'd just say, if watch out for those things. Like we tell guys, constantly communicate, share your heart, open up your heart to each other. So if you're doing that with somebody else, then you are in danger of developing a competing relationship with the person you're dating. So that would be one of the things I'd think.
And I get you, Ramson, because you're talking about a situation where somebody is dating another person, but then they claim to have this best friend of the opposite gender, still close to them, and you feel like, okay, there's some sort of competition there, there's sort of some inconsistency there, because this relationship ought to be exclusive, but now it's like you're having to share yourself to two guys or whatever. What about guys who say, look, I'm not dating anyone. I am as single can be.
Let me stop you there, Pasi.
We talk here. I'm not dating the guy, but their person gitches me. Do you still think that is okay?
This is a circumstance where people are using, do you see how people are writing premium tiers nowadays? That's a rich recipe for premium tiers in the future. Because I think relationships, as I said, the things that build up relationships are basically those time, opening up your heart to somebody else, showing trust, showing care, concern, all those things come in to build a relationship. And so if you do that with somebody without some sense of boundaries of saying, this far we will go, this is healthy for a good relationship. But if you just say, since I'm not dating anyone, I can go ahead and open up my heart, I'm an open book kind of a relationship with somebody else, you will eventually draw them very near. And then now, in one case, one of you might like each other, somebody ends up hurt, or when now somebody else comes into a relationship, one of you starts dating, and then you're having to, in a way, cut down a certain relationship, because eventually you are uninstalling software. You are now saying I need to push you out so that to let this other person in. So I wouldn't say it's healthy in a way in both circumstances, because I think somebody will end up hurt.
And especially if you've already established this person, I can't date, I'm not going to date them or whatever. If you already established that, because of the things that you're saying, either one of you you'll be defrauding the other person. Because one of you will probably begin to like the other person. For you might be okay. But how sure are you the other person doesn't have those sort of feelings towards you?
I think a good basis to put, Sam, is to say that this matter that we're talking about here is not an issue of good and bad. It's an issue of good and wise. And so I mean, different people have different boundaries, and I know that in the previous season we actually talked about boundaries when it comes to friendships and relationships and marriage, and I think that it's really important to figure out what is wise in a certain situation. So, if, for example, I have, you know how the Bible says that the heart is deceitfully wicked, it's horrible. Like we don't know the depths to which our hearts can deceive us. Yeah? And so with that in mind, is it good to have friends of the opposite sex? Sure. Is it good to have friends that are close of the opposite sex? Of course. It's okay. Is it wise to have friends of the opposite sex when you're committed in a lifelong relationship or something that you're building towards a lifelong commitment? Then is it wise to have someone on the side that you're giving putting in as much investment in terms of time and emotion and energy to, as the person that you're intending to get married to, or the person that you're married to already? I don't know whether then that becomes wise. Is it bad? I don't think so. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. And, you can say that for cross-gender, non-spousal relationship. But to some extent, you can actually say it about a friend. I have a girlfriend who's super close, and this girlfriend has the potential to sow some seeds or that would end up being fruit that is not good in my marriage. And so as we let people into our relationships or into our intimate engagements, then how willing are we to, like, what's the boundary that we've put when it comes to bringing people in? I think that's a conversation that each person needs to have with themselves, so that you're leaning more towards wise than just good. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, and I'm glad you've brought up the topic of boundaries, and especially in marriage. You know, and I want us to come to that in a short while, but I don't want us to move away very quickly from the whole single guys. Because single guys feel like, bruh, I'm justified. I was just thinking.
Open and available.
I was thinking on top of my head. First of all, I feel like, you know, the way if you have a friend who's
A bestie.
A bestie.
Are you trying to
Bestie.
dance generations?
Bestie of the opposite sex, and you're very close to them and so on. First of all, I feel like it even sends wrong signals to like your now real potential guys who could date you.
Right.
You get, huh?
Kathy feels like she's remembering something.
Yeah,
She feels like she's
Can I
like,
change position now?
I
Can I
will
stop being
either
devil's
confirm nor
advocate?
deny.
yeah, she's like, finally, I understand why it didn't
Why
work
it didn't
out.
work out? The people looked at me and thought,
Yeah, I mean, and you may not know this, you know, but probably some guys will think, oh, maybe there's another guy trying to. That's how they will.
Yeah.
You know, this is nothing. This is just friendship. But
Yeah.
probably other people will not
Yeah.
look at it like that, and so you will maybe, in an unnecessary way, extend your period of singleness, like getting somebody who will really, for real, want you for you,
yeah,
and so you'll end up with this friendship.
that is a good friendship.
It's a good friendship, but that will lead you nowhere. Versus, you know, having like a real relationship that would be like the one that you are waiting for, looking for, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about little things like that. That, in addition to what Ramson said about maybe one of you is really playing the other one. Maybe one of you is defrauding the other one, because I'm just, in a sense, probably just, and I'm using this word very carefully and very loosely, like I could be using you, you know, because of your other opposite gender. You know, so some things I can gain from that attention, that, you know, so I'm sort of defrauding you. I'm not willing to commit to you and to give myself to you and to enter into like a exclusive relationship with you, but I want to derive all the benefits that I can from having from someone of the opposite gender. And I feel like what that does, it either bookmarks the other person so they're not able to move on, or it stagnates you, you know? And
So interesting that you said bookmark the other person. Like, it's such a weird.
just bookmark the guy, they can't move on, you know? And these are things that we need to, I think about.
Yeah.
You know, there's that. And then there is also another one, and probably I'm saving this for last. I'm just looking at the two genders as, and I don't know whether this is a good analogy, and forgive if it doesn't fit. You know, like a lion and an oryx. Let me use that. There was that situation, was it on Nat Geo? It was a very rare occurrence where a lion adopted an oryx. You know, and there's these accidents of nature. They do happen sometimes, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe you might be thinking, me, my story is that lion being
Yeah.
it's one of those nature weird stories.
Yeah.
And they do happen. They're very rare. But, you know, the lion is a lion. And one point, the lion in the lion will kick in. The lion was watching. And once he kicks in, you know, the oryx is in danger. Oryx shall be devoured by this friendly lion. And so those are things to factor in. These friendships that grow close, but there's no commitment, sometimes they do end up people taking advantage of each other or
I
using
actually
each other,
think,
people getting hurt.
Yeah.
that along that line is just to, when you're saying, the lion will kick in and everything, I think sometimes people, for example, if they're thinking, by the time it becomes a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship and it qualifies for that, sometimes somebody might feel that it's such a big gap from, you see, us sharing and, getting to the place where it feels like it's a romantic relationship. I think something that would also just be helpful for somebody is to consider actually talking to married people and actually learning from them how does a relationship between married people look like. Because sometimes you will realize, this is me speaking to younger me, when you are single, you could be very naive about what it means to be in a relationship, committed relationship with somebody else, and how that friendship grows and how it becomes all that it becomes.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes speaking to somebody who's in a dating or maybe marriage relationship, I'd say, they tend to get to know. I think married people tend to can tell you the difference between, okay, this is a friendship and this is becoming a very intimate relationship. You might be thinking that once people get married, it graduates to PhD level. You might be thinking it's PhD. They might just tell you, no, the difference between what you're having and a marriage relationship is very, very little. Yeah, maybe it's just one semester away from a marriage relationship. So I'd just say, so that's something, because I think when we are single, sometimes we are very naive about what marriage relationship will look like. So we might be saying, it's just like a friendship, but...
But look, I mean, I'm okay
Are you
with...
back to devil's advocate?
No. I'm fine. I'm okay with everything that you guys have said. But I'm curious to get to hear from the two of you guys. Where's the boundary? Because here's the thing: we're not saying that it's bad to have
friends.
We're not even saying that it's bad to have close friends. We just have a problem with the whole exclusivity that a best friend has. Am I getting it right, Sam?
Or
Yeah,
the closeness.
or let's just say that, of course,
Yeah.
even using titles like that doesn't make any sense. And then I think, nurturing another friendship, intentionally putting kuni and of the opposite sex,
Yes.
and especially if it's heading nowhere,
So
and more so when you're married, I
Yeah.
don't think it's a good idea.
I have two
personally.
questions.
Yeah.
I have two questions. One, so this has already happened, right? You already have a person that is really close to you. I mean, you've grown up together. It's the whole thing. You've invested already, and then you've met someone else. This person actually even likes this person that you've met, and you've worked on that relationship and stuff, and now you're getting
So the
married.
two like each other, yeah.
And even the two have even become friends.
I've seen even guys who
Co-spouse.
their friend, the Jama friend, is the one who's mamias the girl.
Yeah. What? I mean, even let me tell you,
She
even at this point now, this guy, this childhood friend, and your guy have become friends just because of how close you guys have been. So, what do you do with that relationship? With this relationship here, do you gunshot it? What do you do with it there? And the second thing that I want to ask is, what's the boundary? What's the boundary between having close friends and having what one would call a best friend? What is that ka thing that once you cross, you know, hey? And I'm asking for a friend who is not myself. I'm asking for a friend.
I'd say I think the tricky part about, I don't think there is a boundary. I think because it's a matter of wisdom, it seems the boundary is not a clear, defined mark of, here is what you talk to about with your spouse, and here is what you don't talk. I think because it ranges in the area of wisdom, it becomes a really difficult thing to tell somebody, hey, here is where you stop and here is where you begin. I think those are some of those things that I think sometime back when I was in Salt, not many years, half a decade ago.
Yeah, Okay.
Where there's one sermon where Pastor Mark was preaching, and he said there are some things that, especially around relationships, that can only be worked out as you build relationships with other people, and they speak into their lives and they share wisdom with you. And as they get to know you, they can tell you, hey, here, Kathy, I think here is where you stop. Since this is what we know about you. And I think that's where now you bring in the beauty of a gospel community, a community of people who think through their lives through the scriptures, think through their lives in view of the gospel, and then through what does God say about how we should handle each other and how we should treat each other. And then they can tell you, we think the path you're walking down is not right. So I'd say I don't think there is a clear boundary, but I think that's where now the blessing of people and wise people around you and counselors can come in. So yeah.
I think on a situation like that, and you've painted it very well, this is a guy who you grew up with, Nini, a close friend. What would I do in a situation like that? I know one of the things that relationship needs is communication. Like communication is like the firewood that keeps firing up,
Right.
a relationship. What I would do, I would just cut much communication with the guy and focus all my energies with my new guy, And naturally, you find that if not much effort is being put in a relationship, it just begins to dwindle. If the other guy is the one texting you, Konini, ghost the guy kidogo.
Where?
Just a way of, hey, fam, like, used to be my friend, but, I'm in this other situation, relationship. So, kidogo, if the guy is clever, they'll join dots for themselves.
Oh,
And if they don't join dots for themselves, you call them
not that it's
and you tell
happened.
them, I really treasured our friendship.
Oh, treasured? Guys, I'm
But
already
Skiza, you
feeling
can't
hard
be
on behalf of
texting
the
me.
people.
Because it will rightly arouse jealousy in my husband. And he ought to be jealous about this,
Yeah.
Because he's a man after God's own heart. And he's like his father.
His Christ likeness is being formed in him.
In him.
He needs
And
to be
he
jealous
ought to
over
be
his
jealous
bride.
over his bride. So if you know what's good for you, unaona hapo usipite hiyo, like, you don't be. That sort of, I think it's okay to give up a good thing over a better thing.
Yeah.
And the problem with us is we want to have everything all at once.
Yeah.
And wisdom sometimes teaches you that sometimes to get the better thing, you have to give up even a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's okay, and more so in marriage. Now we're talking about marriage. I find that in marriage, the more clear you are with your boundaries, the better. The more I make my spouse my best friend, the better. I have no business taking our issues and then looking for another lady to tell them so that they can help me understand women.
Yeah.
They want
The
to
devil is
do,
a liar.
they want to think like a lady, act like a man.
Act
You
like a
are
man.
trying that. You're like, back to Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
I don't get that. So let's just try to bring it to a close. Do you guys know what the pros and the cons? What do you say that the pros? I think you mentioned a little bit of pros. I don't know, because you were trying to play devil's advocate before you. Ukavuka sakafu. Kwa mwendo wa aste.
Before she started
Obviously,
noticing,
I was
she's
always
revealing too
there.
much of her past.
But I'm feeling those people. I'm feeling them.
So pros and cons, in summary. Is there any pros? Okay, I mean, we're trying to
Yeah,
be
there
kind here.
is. Yeah, I think there is. There are some benefits, even within our hearts. There are some benefits if you have some lady, let's say it's a dude, you have some lady friends and maybe you don't have a girlfriend. There are some benefits to, there's a difference between a compliment from a lady and a compliment from a guy. There's a difference.
Tell us.
There's a certain, the magnetic pull is different in both cases. So I think there are, even in terms of attitudes and our hearts, how our hearts melt when a dude tells you, hey, looking sharp, and when a lady will tell you, hey, leo umeweza. I think just how God created us and how within ourselves, there are different ways in which we respond to different genders. And so I think one of the benefits and one of the things that you will enjoy in that space, whether it's wise and not wise, that's something to discuss about it, is you will enjoy those senses of, you will enjoy some parts of your heart being touched when you have that kind of a relationship. So yeah, you will enjoy those relationships, I think.
I think another.
A con, I'm a pro.
No, I have a pro actually. Another pro is just that you can't live life in isolation. And like I said earlier on, there's something that, like Ramson is saying, there's something that a friendship from an opposite gender, cross-gender, non-spousal friendship, there's a thing that brings. There's a different way of thinking. There's an aspect of caution that could come from the other side. Say, for example, if there are certain things that girls don't see, you know, there are certain advances or certain character traits that ladies just, they don't see. And that dudes would be able to pick and say, hey, here, I feel like you should just not, like, cut that friendship, or this guy doesn't have good intentions.
Or even don't buy that
like
car. You know.
Or just, oh my goodness, how could I even forget? Let me tell you guys, one of the pros.
You get technical advice.
Technical
Man.
advice.
Technical things.
That one is the proest of all pros.
That sounds like that thingy for this scratch here. These days, when this YouTube, just go in, watch. You don't need about your best friend for that. Go YouTube, watch the, what is it called?
Says the dude.
but yeah, I think what we're just saying is you don't need a close relationship to
Yes.
bring out such things. Like if there, I think such things on such benefits, I would say would be you actually don't need them to be very best friends for you to get such benefits. Though I know if you have a very close relationship, it's easier. They will just pick it out. You know, you'll be talking about how you want this car, and then they'll tell you, hey, that car, you won't need even to ask. You know, if it's not somebody you're constantly talking to and having conversations, they'll be surprised to see, Kathy, you have a car. But if it's somebody you've been, you know, conversing and or sharing how you're deep, how you are going to work, and then this car passed and just poured all the water on you, and you just feel like you need a car. And if you're having such conversations, they will pick out when you are about to buy a car, and they'll tell you, hey, if you're thinking of a car, don't do this. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay. Can I share a con?
You can share a con. Though I feel like we had already shared cons before, though we kind of mix them up a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can share a con, and then we can bring it to a close.
Right. I think one thing that you want to do, even as you think about all these things that we're talking about in terms of friendships and stuff like that, is when you get into a relationship with a guy, now because I'm a girl, that you're foreseeing marriage, and I hope that that's how people are dating, you know, that they are getting into relationships
For marriage.
Once you get into such kind of a relationship, then you want to pump in as much goodness as possible for the sake of the relationship. You want the relationship to be as healthy as possible. And one of the things that would very easily work against a healthy relationship is an extra. You know, one of the things that would work against you feeling that in this relationship you're loved and you're accepted and you're special and you're the only one there, is for you to feel the need to ask questions about some other person. And I think that's a huge con that everyone should think about. If I'm in this relationship myself, what do I want to put more effort into? Do I want to put more effort into growing this wonderful thing that I have and having it get to marriage? Or while in marriage, growing this wonderful relationship that I will have until the Lord calls one of us home? Do I want to spend as much of my time and my energy as possible to grow that? Or do I want to expend some of that energy trying to convince my husband here
It's okay.
that he's just a friend, you know, or having to explain that I talked to and I had coffee with, and, you know, it meant nothing, or this text meant nothing, or that I meant nothing, or why he ended up knowing something before my husband ended up knowing. You know, you want to expend as little energy as possible outside this beautiful thing that you're growing out here. Is it bad? I don't necessarily think that it's bad to have you know, an extra. However, is it wise? I don't think it is, because you really you want the best for the person that you're in the relationship with. And the best means getting everything good for that relationship. Let me give an example, Sam. Once you get a child, right? You want your child to feel that they are the, and Ramson is smiling because he's there.
No, I'm just feeling like Kathy has been waiting all her life to say, you know, to feel like a parent, so that people don't tell her, where una mtoto? You know, you feeling like,
Praise the Lord.
now you can tell people.
Praise the Lord, praise the Lord. So once you get a child, you know that this child is depending on you, right? And so while you're taking care of this child, while you're grooming this child, while you're expending effort on this child, and especially, let's say, for the first 3 or so months before the child becomes more and more independent with time, then it may be very unwise for you to start doing other things on the side. Is it wrong? No. But it's very unwise for you to do other things on the side, regardless of how good they are, just because you know that this is where I need to be at this point in time. And so I think that you can extrapolate the same thing to relationships and marriages.
I heard you talking about this Bible verse earlier on about everything being permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Do you think it fits also in this?
I think it does. I think it does. I mean, everything is permissible. It is okay for you to have as many best friends as possible. Is it permissible? It is. I mean, you're not sleeping around. You're not kissing everyone. You're fine. It's just a friend. But is everything beneficial? I don't think everything is beneficial. And I think that it's wise to really take time to think through what would be beneficial, what would bring the most benefit to this particular situation that you're in.
There's this verse in Proverbs, and maybe that will be my ending verse. I don't know that you have a Bible verse. Bible verse.
Let me go.
There's plenty. You've just been holding
Lamentations, premium tears in Lamentations.
So it goes something like this. The wise man sees danger ahead and they take cover. You know, but the fool, they keep going and they pay
suffer.
for it.
Yeah, yeah,
Pay for it. I feel like it sort of also fits this.
yeah.
You know, so I feel like it's a wisdom issue. At the end of the day, you said it might be a sin issue, but it's a wisdom issue. And if we are careless in this, you might end up really paying a bitter price. You know, in the end, nobody wants that. Yeah. So, I think we're gonna bring it to a close, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Tuesday Connect. I kind of feel like this one we spoke from the heart. Like,
Yeah.
let's just talk about this.
Sam, if I've been a devil's advocate all this time, was I still speaking? I don't know. I don't know.
When we started, you were like, wait, which side is she on? Is she even a
Is she
Christian?
a Christian?
But I hope you guys were able to just keep track with us and learn from this. Keep checking out this Tuesday Connects. We'll have another one next week. Thank you for tuning in, and we are out.